Okay, we're beginning the anime DVD collection update with this. It does. I guess I could look at the shipping details to verify for certain, but I believe this is well. First of all, it's from Japan. Didn't come directly here. This is scanned closed 12/27, so it was delivered here pretty close to Christmas, which makes me think that this is actually the Santa Company Kickstarter stuff. And as you can see, as this update is beginning, I'm using a new camcorder. I'll show it to you in a little bit, but for now, we're just going to get in here. Yep, I see some Santa Company stuff. Okay, and the reason I did this over here is not only is it a big box, but it gives me a chance to show things. So I guess this poster seems like it would be... Yeah, I recognize this image. Fast, reliable, secret delivery. I think this is the signature right there. I see, I don't remember... I remembered I paid a lot. But the truth of the matter is I mostly cared about the DVD and getting my names in the credits. So they should be in the credits. I'll have to figure that out later. So we got a good poster. I just have to decide how I want to hang that up. If I can hang that up. Let's see. So I do guess that there was a list of things that were in here according to the packing, and this was a bit of an exploration. You know, you buy something, you don't remember what you got, and so nice. See there, I was trying to think if that's Santa or not. But we've got a mug, and that one can of course go in my mug cabinet. That will be the most anime mug I have in there. Everything else kind of references anime at best. Let's see. This is a little ripped. I'm guessing that it was looked in and then sealed. So what's this stuff? Oh, nice. Okay. So, these appear to be related to production because this looks a lot like a keyframe. And it looks like I have a handful of them. These are just pretty. So this is a lot like the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. You know, I think I received that last week, but I hadn't talked about it yet, had I? Well, I'm going full video editing on this, so I'll have a chance to look at and review. This will be an interesting update. And this is probably an important deal to do just because not a lot of other DVDs. Hard to tell what this one is. And that's not a bad thing. These are white. It all looks like works in progress. And there's just something really neat about that. I mean, maybe I'm thinking of this now that I'm more exploring the creative process, but and then I guess this one, no, this one wasn't blank. So that's pretty awesome. And this is all gibberish to me. Doesn't look like, oh no, I guess there was some stuff back here. quite fascinating. Now that said, I would not want to do the animation process, but I would definitely love to know how to do it and figure out what could be applicable to some of my own stuff. Because I am doing, like I said, additional video editing, especially for tonight's update. So here we have a book, and I see there that there's something inside of it, and I'm trying to remember what this was. I see a signature on the inside, and it's all in Japanese, but this looks a lot like a lot of the books I get, although there's a lot more detail in here about the process. See, there's a little thing on the side there. I guess it's across a couple of pages. That might be marking the stuff related to the other stuff I got, I'm thinking. Which is pretty cool. And then we got a t-shirt. Looks nice and simple, but it's an anime t-shirt. So, I'll be glad to add to that arsenal. And then of course I saved this for last because this looked like it had the DVD or Blu-ray or whatever in it. Okay, so I guess we'll go through these postcards first. It'll be interesting. I think I'll probably stop this update, and I'll have multiple clips, but I'll probably take a look at. I'll probably watch the actual thing. So as you can see, this is the OST, and then that leaves this. That's actually really pretty. It looks more like an oversized passport. At least on the front. That's a very fresh smell to it. There we go. So this here would be the DVD itself. Yeah, Blu-ray and DVD. That's just good. That's good. Let's see here. Image on the inside. And see, this is the Blu-ray version. And this is the DVD version. I'm just wondering if we can verify. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, I'm seeing an all and an all right there. I don't know how well that shows up on this camera. I can't tell from the back. It makes me think that this is region free, which I think might have been part of the point. And then it also, the Blu-ray DVD came with this book. What's this? Oh, it's covered with art herpes, aka glitter. Very pretty. Oh, right. This is a story. It's the storybook of, I think, everything that happened, maybe? I'll have to watch it itself to find out for certain. So, as you can see, with the new camera, this place looks weird. And, like I said, there's only the three things. It looks like they're all Blu-ray, which is surprising. So I guess we'll look at these, and I'll leave Santa Company there, and just get started on this. So, well, there's not a lot of anime to show this time. Obviously, the Santa Company one is an important one, but it's probably also worth mentioning. Yeah, that's interestingly damaged. Oh, it opened without exploding. As you can see here, we've got Dog and Scissors, which the DVD version arrived last week. The DVD dubbed version, because right, it came out on DVD subtitle only once, and now it was released DVD dubbed, and here's the Blu-ray dub. Region A only, but there's English and Japanese audio options. Yes, this one's actually an important one if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people have talked about and referenced this. The DVD version was supposed to arrive today, but I think that one's up in... No, but that one got a little delayed, but I think it's finally up in Dallas, so it's probably going to be here tomorrow, which is a non-issue. Let's see. Looking at the back, it's Japanese with English subtitles only, all 12 episodes, Region A. And this one, I guess, is going to be a high priority watch just because it's got a reputation. The name looks familiar. I think people keep name dropping it. Finally, the Blu-ray release of the Qwaser of Stigmata, and this is seasons 1 and 2 plus the OVA. 37 episodes, 3 discs, complete series collection. It's interesting. It has different lists under the video for seasons 1 and 2. Looks like season 1 is 1080i and season 2 is 1080p. That's actually a very fascinating thing to notice. As you can see, it's particularly perverted, but if you don't know what the anime is about, honestly, it's a kind of mix of genius and perverted genius, I guess. I'm not sure what I would call that aspect, but I've mentioned before that I really like this anime because this one is one of your, people battling each other using elements sort of thing. But this one's actually using elements from the periodic table of elements. And I actually really respect it for that because most places go like, oh, they control elements. This one controls fire, that one controls water. Oh well. So this is my anime DVDs. I'll have to cover real quick. I have to show you the other major things that arrived. That would be some additional video capture equipment. And my dryer is very interesting. That arrived today, so it'll be interesting. And of course I'll have to show you the camera. So here's my new camcorder, because it doesn't make sense to record it with itself. It's just a simple cheap little thing. Pretty standard stuff. USB plug back here. Records in 1080p. It records MPEG-4 and AVCDH at the same time. It says it's got 54x optical zoom, but obviously I'm not going to use that for this, so that's yeah, another new toy. So I mentioned working on video capture equipment stuff, and I of course showed that before, but let me begin by explaining what I've got when I'm getting stuff by pointing out to this. This is a video capture device I've actually had for a while. This is what I captured all the previous stuff on my channel with, and about the only issue with it was that it eventually just stopped working. Well, I decided I wanted to look into it a bit more because it turns out that there's support for this specific model now on Linux for Video for Linux 2, which would allow me to stream the contents directly to a friend using FFmpeg. And so I tried to dig up the cables, and I think this one was actually the power cable. It's a NetBit, so it doesn't say Hapage. I don't know how to pronounce that. And when I Googled, it sounds like some of the early 1212s shipped with NetBit power plugs, and these were actually the components that were failing. People replaced them, and suddenly their Pages were functioning again. So that's my plan. I'm guessing this is probably still good. It didn't feel like there was much to it that could go bad. With any luck, that shows up soon. It was supposed to show up tomorrow, but I think it's coming from New York, and I'm guessing there's a lot of winter weather, so who knows when it'll arrive. Maybe it'll arrive next week. But with that thing only captures component and S-video and composite, which leads to the problem. You know, there's two reasons why I stopped recording videos. One of those is I wasn't playing any games that I could capture. because I was playing mostly Wii U stuff, and that of course is HDMI, and you're seeing here what isn't intended to be a solution. This is more just, if I use the Hauppauge on the Linux server, then I could probably show my friend directly how to play Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate instead of doing a bumbling job. So what I have here is an HDMI-to-Component that's coming from my Wii U, and quite surprisingly, it actually worked really well. Sorry, that's the Wii U. Surprisingly, it worked really well, as in, like, you could maybe kind of tell it was some color or quality degradation, but I was surprised. Now, this is directly into the TV. We'll have to see what it's like plugging into Hauppauge itself. That it might not support these high resolutions over component, or maybe it will. And maybe I'm mistaken and it's actually digital and not analog, and I won't be able to capture it with that, but that's sort of the idea. But, and I didn't notice any delay in the signal, so that would already be a potential playing it and recording it at the same time, because apparently that device is good enough. I've got everything in place to record the Hauppauge, or record through the Hauppauge, you know, splitters and stuff. But I would want something that's definitely going to be really good for it, and I'm getting a HDMI splitter, and that's why I use the two HDMI cables down here, because that's part of the mess that's starting to develop down here. And well, I guess I'm actually considering getting a, I forget what it's called. It's some sort of HDMI gaming video capture device, dedicated. It's got HDMI in, HDMI out, blah blah blah. So the idea would be that maybe I can capture some high quality video with that while using the Hauppauge for streaming to my friend. So as promised, here's the new dryer. Like I said, it's really strange. That's what happens when I power it on. You can see all these lights here are on. So for this, I'm going to select just a quick air dry cycle, just for the lowest time, which is 10 minutes. Just like that. And I'll show you what it's like when it finishes, because it's really strange. What the fuck, huh? I'm used to all my dryers buzzing, but that's... I think I have a dryer that has dreams of becoming a Japanese toilet someday. So, I guess when it comes to the topic of what I've watched this week, it's tricky. I mean, there's been a little anime. Obviously, I just watched Santa Company, so perhaps I should talk about that first, since I did open that up first, and it was actually pretty nice. I mean, it's not super spectacular. It's not the sort of thing where you'll watch it and it'll blow your mind about anime or anything like that, but it's just nice. You know, not okay, nice, I think. I think the My Anime List rating, which is like mid-6 at the moment, maybe a little harsh. I'm guessing maybe people were expecting something different or wanting something more. For me, I mean, it's simple, but it's kind of filling a niche that anime doesn't tend to, at least the anime that comes out here. I mean, when it comes down to Christmas anime, the only other two things that come to mind are My Santa, which is actually kind of conceptually similar to this. It's just another anime take on Santa stuff. And then there's Tokyo Godfathers, which is actually a really great movie, but it's hard to say how much of that has to do with Christmas. It kind of has the right feeling, but it almost feels like Die Hard is far more of a Christmas movie, since Tokyo Godfathers seems to mostly take place around Christmas and seems to be kind of within the concept of the Christmas spirit. So, with Santa Company, it's kind of nice. It feels like it fills that void, I think, better than those other two options I mentioned, and so I think it's nice to have for that regard, in that way. The animation is nice, the music is nice, the story is strange, but for something that has to be told in only 20 to 30 minutes, it's about what you'd expect. What I mean by that is sometimes, you know, they can't just make it a straightforward, oh, let's go here to there. You know, there has to be things that happen along the way, and they throw some things at you a little unexpectedly, but not necessarily too bad. And ultimately, I thought it kind of came together at the end where, you know, these things kind of helped the character realize something about Christmas spirit. I'll have to rewatch My Santa to see if there's anything there that'd be relevant, but I don't know. So, it is kind of unfair to watch that Kickstarter thing without mentioning Bubblegum Crisis. You know, that one came out a week or two ago, I think 2 weeks ago, and or at least it arrived, and clearly I prioritized watching this one simply because it's a completely new thing, whereas the Bubblegum Crisis thing, Bubblegum Crisis has been released here before, and so watching that one is kind of for a different purpose, specifically about what I think of the release. And I watched the first episode a couple nights ago. I guess I haven't been doing much watching. And it was nice. I mean, the picture was great, beautiful. It defaulted to Japanese with English subtitles, so I can't say anything about quality of the dub, which of course was not created for this. I think the dub exists. But I didn't mind, because for the most part, Japanese with English subtitles is the original natural state of Bubblegum Crisis. And I have confirmed that, yeah, my name does show up in credits in both of them, so that's nice. But watching the shows themselves was a different kind of nice, the kind of thing that's more relevant to discussion here. Beyond that, I watched Okami Kakushi, aka Mask of the Wolf, and it's really hard to say a lot about it because the things I want to say kind of reveal things about the anime. It spoils parts of the anime. Because other than that, it kind of reminded me of Higurashi, which is also known as When They Cry. And don't take that the wrong way. What I mean by it reminds me of that, it's like the first story arc in the very first season of When They Cry, you kind of get the feeling of small town townishness, and then something wrong seems to be underneath the covers, and this anime has that feeling as well. In addition, the main characters are drawn to be particularly cute, kawaii. Although, that girl does have some very tomboyish pants. I don't know why I keep thinking of those when I think of her, because her character was kind of more intriguing and curious. Now, the issue is that you probably guess what sort of reveal they would do. I don't think it's completely subtle about it, but it just doesn't come right out and say it. And so it's kind of difficult to think what to do. There's some conveniences in the plot, but for the most part, I thought it was pretty good too. Nothing spectacular, again, same thing. And there is this nagging problem that I would like to talk about on here, to ask the question out loud, because I feel like the anime kind of overlooked something about the concept which makes it seem a bit silly, but beyond that, it was fun to watch. But other than those three things, I guess I haven't watched a whole lot else. I mean, well, I mean, I've watched two other things that come to mind, and I guess a lot of that has just been, I've been figuring things out. I've been playing with iMovie because I got this new camera, of course, and part of the goal of getting this camera was to be able to transition to doing my video editing on the Mac, because the Mac has a program called iMovie, and
I needed to play around with that and make sure I understood how to do the things in that I already know how to do with this old version of Windows Movie Maker that I've been using. But beyond that, also how to do additional neat things. Things that I always thought Windows Movie Maker should have been able to do and would be easy to do, but they just designed it in a way where it wasn't the case. But now, no, I mean, it's not some professional, completely add special effects or manipulate all videos in all ways you would ever want sort of thing. I think Final Cut Pro may be more along those lines. But when it comes to stitching together videos and making simple video edits and whatnot, it seems pretty good. And if I play around with it, I might even find additional uses for it. And so, of course, I've been playing around with it a lot just because, you know, I had those features to figure out new stuff, and then some programming stuff came up where I haven't actually used the laptop yet to do any coding, and I finally had something I really wanted to do. It's kind of related to the card game One Night Ultimate Werewolf. If you're not familiar with it, it's pretty fun. I hope to be able to record some playing of it, but if not, maybe you're already familiar. You've seen other videos out there of people playing it, and it being more fun than anything I would make. And I guess the point is there's one big issue for me, and there's a reason why I don't have a copy of the game yet, and that's because this is my cell phone. As you can see, this is one of those flip screen ones. It's not one of those cell phones that would have a data plan, let alone an app plan, and my last iPod was an iPod Shuffle, and I haven't needed an MP3 player, so I wouldn't get an iPod Touch. And obviously, since the phone is neither Android nor iOS, it's none of that. And I only have a Mac laptop, not a tablet, which basically means I can't download and play the free app. And that's a very important part of the game, just because you need to be able to do stuff. So, after exploring a lot of emulators and simulators and realizing they're so locked down that you can't even take a completely free app and play it, I've come up with my own simple solution of you can look at the contents of the app if you get it from the iTunes store, and then all you have to do is, at a minimum, tie together the MP3 files in the right way. So I just made a program to do that. But that was a complicated task for two reasons. One of those is there's a lot of voice files because there's a lot of complicated steps. Doppelganger, of course, is mixed in everywhere, which makes a lot of sense. And that werewolf phase, I don't know, I guess I still don't quite have that one working right just because there's edge conditions that still don't work. But I guess the other problem was that the editor I'm used to using is Emacs, and since I got this laptop, I've not properly set that up, and I'm trying to do it all myself, which basically meant wrestling with it like crazy to figure out settings and make something that works similarly to what had been given to me before. So right now it's a lot closer to my own personal setup, and of course I'm going to install Eclipse because Eclipse is also really good for development. But that right there, iMovie and One Night Ultimate, where those two things together just explain where most of my time went. I can't watch dubbed or subbed anime while doing that because it just requires a lot of focus. It's been tiring. And then of course I've got a couple non-anime things like I mentioned, and I watched the first 2 episodes of the first season of the 4400. I think I showed that to y'all for my Christmas update, and hard to say what to think about the show because I guess I remember conceptually some feelings from the pilot, and it's got a bunch of stuff set up, and I'm curious. And episode 2, I think it was going the right way in terms of making it a show I would want to continue watching and be curious about. So I want to watch it and see more and come to decisions about it. I think I've mentioned that there were a couple of things I watched recently which had some really stupid drama stuff in it, and I was actually pretty glad that the 4400 is a lot tamer in that regard. There's still stuff there, but it feels like the show doesn't really need to pad itself out with that sort of stuff, so it has the interesting thing. The interesting stuff. At least that's from the pilot episode and the second episode. The remaining 3 episodes for the first season, we'll see. Seasons 2, 3, and 4, we'll see. There's probably going to be some sort of plot that develops, because it doesn't feel like this show wanders too far from the concept of the very beginning of the first episode, considering every single episode had to do with it begins showing, oh yeah, by the way, all these guys were abducted, and it shows like the same abduction for all 4 seasons or something like that. And I know this because in order to put it on my streaming server, in order to just watch it wherever, whenever, it meant that I had to just make sure that everything was in the right order and whatnot. So I got to see at least that much, which makes me hopeful. It might mean there's a plan, or if there's not a plan, it's kind of like X-Files, and you just are curious what the encounter of the week is going to be. But the other thing I watched was the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, and I'm trying to think of the right way to put this, because it's a very strange movie, but I really like it in its strangeness. There's an element of it that's kind of campy, but it's very much like an episode of Angry Video Game Nerd, just a movie version of it. And don't misunderstand me here. I know some people go and they're expecting an Angry Video Game Nerd movie-long review, and it's not that. Usually, Angry Video Game Nerd's episodes tend, well, at least after a certain point when he started getting creative with them, they are, they kind of have 2 things going on at the same time. The review and something alongside the review that usually ties into the review. And the movie, of course, is mostly that later half. Because, of course, as you may know, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie is about the legendary stories of the old Atari E.T. game. And so, it's a bit random, over the place, campy, but it's fun because you can kind of tell the people who made it were fun, and they really want you to watch the movie and to have a feeling for just how it's created. And this makes the 10 hours of bonus content on the Blu-ray just vital, because a lot of that is all about the process. There's vlogs that James kept as he made the movie, and I haven't watched through those. I mean, gosh, I think I've only gone through like half of that stuff. It can be really hard to process, but you know, they showed you how they did some of the effects and some of the before-after stuff, and I think some of these we've actually seen before on his site talking about stuff. I know I've seen some of it, but you know, the Blu-ray goes into much more detail. And it was really nice to watch this Nostalgia Critic review. I'm not saying his new stuff is bad, but there's a part of me that really liked the simplicity of his old stuff. And there's a Nostalgia Critic review of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie on the Blu-ray itself. That's the review of the movie, and it was nice to see some classic critic. Well, there we go. As you can see, it's been a particularly crazy week. We'll have to see if I can even upload this entire video, because it'll be my first HD upload in a long time, and it's going to be really long time-wise. So, here's hoping y'all have a nice week.